Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Shadows. So, I don't know how many chapters I'm gonna do. We'll see. Depends on how long they are. And yeah, we'll just jump straight into it. We're jumping straight into chapter 7. So, Shadows, the horror movie heroes by Clouds. My head in the clouds, not coming down. Chapter 7, Education. Summary, Kyoko makes a new friend. Kyoko double-checked her phone again, and sure enough, this seemingly abandoned apartment building was exactly where her maps app was leading her. She huffed in a frustrated disappointment. It had been so hard to find anything on some old hero named Gran Torino, and it had been even harder to find the current address. The internet had been pretty much a total bust, and she ended up just calling Recovery Girl and asking if she knew everything. That, of course, had led to an awkward conversation about how, no, All Might hadn't told her, and yes, she was planning on reaching out anyway. But thankfully, instead of being angry for her for eavesdropping, Recovery Girl just laughed and promised not to give away the surprise. It wasn't supposed to be a surprise, not really. Kyoko just needs some advice for getting stronger and punch things. Kyoko just needed some advice beyond getting stronger and punch things, and was hoping this Gran Torino dude would be able to help. Well, the address Recovery Girl had given her was obviously wrong. There was no way anyone could actually live here, but it left a sour taste in her mouth to just turn around and leave after she'd come all this way. She sighed and trudged up the steps. She knocked and waited a few minutes, but when no one answered, she was just going home. Her knocks echoed through the house, but after a moment Kyoko heard a shuffling from inside. There was actually someone in there. She stuck her hand in her pocket and wrapped it around the pepper spray just to be safe, because even though she couldn't really be as happy as she was last time, it's just in case it wasn't Gran Torino who opened up the door. Maybe she should have asked All Might to come with her and introduce them. The door opened and she looked down to see an owner of the house, but he was so old that he'd shrunk just like Recovery Girl had. He wasn't a lot to look at, just a standard old man with a stubbly beard and a big flannel shirt who probably ate too many TV dinners. He glared up at her while holding his cane in a way that made it very clear she was one wrong move away from losing her kneecaps. "Who are you? Are you selling cookies?" Kyoko blinked. "What? No." Shame. The man let out a disgruntled noise. "So why are you here then?" "Oh, well, I'd like to ask you a few questions actually," Kyoko said, "assuming you're actually the guy I'm looking for." "Oh yeah?" He gave her a praising look. "And who is that?" "Gran Torino." Kyoko smiled when his eyes widened. "That's you, right? Recovery Girl told me I was looking for a crotchety old man." Gran Torino guffawed loudly. "Oh, is that what she told you? Well, it takes one to know one, that's for sure. And why would you be here looking for a crotchety old man like me?" "I was hoping you'd be able to offer some more insight about the secret All Might told me," Kyoko said cryptically. "What do you know about One for All?" Izuku and Hitoshi led the psychological thriller that they were playing in the background as they watched clips of last year's sports festival on Izuku's laptop. They had notebooks open right next to them with the name of the student that they were currently analysing, which at the moment was a second year named Tamaki Amajiki. "His quirk is so interesting," Izuku gushed. "Depending on the combination, he could probably imitate..." Depending on the combination, he could probably imitate. He could probably imitate. Fuck me. Depending on the combination, he could probably imitate almost any quirk. Does that work on inorganic materials? Like, if he ate a piece of balloon, could he float? Actually, that wouldn't really work, but maybe if he inhaled helium? I think it's safe to assume that most of what he manifests is actually food, Hitoshi points out. It's weird finding someone who's so shy in the hero course, though. He'll most likely try to stick to the supporting role, but if we can force him into the spotlight, his anxiety is bound to give us the advantage, especially if we can isolate him from those two other kids he always sits with at the end of his fights. They're his support system, so remove them. Izuku grinned. And he might just crumble. Controlling what he eats is a little harder, especially since we obviously don't want to starve him or anything, and we'll just become relevant if it ends up being the beneficial to capture him. But I can do some research into some other plants or things that won't give him any useful traits. Maybe corn? It doesn't have vines, so it'll be harder to weaponize. Getting hit with corn cobs is still gonna hurt, Hitoshi pointed out. But yeah, not really as scary as a blackberry bush wrapping around you or a bull's horns or something. Yeah, Izuku wrote himself a note for later. I think I've got an okay idea of his quirk now. What about you? Do you have a clear picture of his personality? Hitoshi raised an eyebrow. I've been picking apart people's brains since I was 4, Izuku. You have to know what it makes a person tick to make them talk. Izuku grinned and flipped to the next page. Okay, who's next? How about Mirio Togata? Hitoshi shrugged. Sounds good to me. Gran Torino grabbed Kyoka by the arm and dragged her inside and slamming the door behind her. What did you just say? He was a lot faster than she was expecting and a lot stronger too. Kyoka winced and rubbed her arm as soon as he let her go. I said I wanted to know more about One for All. Gran Torino just glared at her suspiciously. And how do you even know about it? All Might told me. Kyoka steadily returned his glare. He said he wants me to inherit it, but at the same time, I know there's something he's not telling me. If I'm going to let someone else give me a quirk, I'd like to know what I'm getting into. Gran Torino frowned, pulled up his phone, but he was no longer staring daggers at her, so that was an improvement. He still gave her a suspicious glance as he held the phone to his ear. Kyoka's eyes widened when All Might answered the phone. Gran Torino! Oh, what do I owe? What do I owe the pleasure? I wasn't expecting a call from you today. I have a girl here who says she's your successor, Gran Torino said. Purple hair, more attitude than Nana had at your age. Sound familiar? If she's your successor, why the hell aren't you here with her? Jiro heard a cackling cough through the other end of the phone and grimaced as she realized All Might was spitting up blood again. That was her bad. Actually, I didn't tell him I was coming. I overheard him talking about you with some guy named Tsukuruchi and just thought you might be able to help me. Gran Torino blinked at her for a few moments as All Might spluttered excuses before he took a deep breath and yelled at the phone. That's even worse, you nincompoop. Were you really so sparse on the details that this girl had to go out of her way to find somebody to give her some answers? You know what? She seems like a nice girl, and I found somebody with a lick of sense at least. So I'll help you out and answer her questions, okay? But you owe me a full box of taiyaki. Got it? Yes, sir. All Might spluttered. Of course, thank you. Gran Torino hung up the phone as Jiro looked at him in shock. Alright, kid. Now what's your name? Kyoka Jiro. Kyoka said. Sir? Gran Torino just rolled his eyes. Just call me Gran. All Might only bothers to call me that sir stuff because I beat some sense into him whenever he was younger. Now, what did that all-American peacock tell you about One for All? Well, he said that it's a quirk that gets passed down and that it makes me stronger, Jiro said. But it's not really the quirk itself that I have questions about. My problem is more like about the training. All Might told me that if I don't have enough muscle mass when I accept it, I'll blow my arms off, which obviously don't want that to happen, right? But I get that's a lot of power, but muscle mass can't be the only way to harness it. Muscle takes a lot of time to build, and showing up to the entrance exam with a new quirk that I've never used before just sounds like a just sounds like a recipe for disaster to me. Gran stared at her with an unreadable expression for a long moment before pulling out his phone again. You told her she couldn't receive it till when? Chapter 8. Rumors. Summary. Rumor has it. I just wish Katsuki would leave me alone. Izuku groaned as Satoshi helped him bandage yet another burn. It's like the more I work on stealth, the more he thinks I'm just ignoring him or looking down at him. I can avoid him for a while, but it just seems to make it worse when he finally catches you. Hitoshi nodded. Yeah, my bullies are the same way. I wonder. Izuku looked up. Do you have a way to stop it? Hitoshi shrugged. Maybe. Remember the day we first met and all my bullies thought you were some kind of villain backup coming to help me? Izuku nodded. It made them run away. And they stopped bothering me at school for weeks. Hitoshi added. So, what would happen if we were to do that again, but like, intentionally this time? I tell my bullies you're scarier than I am, and you tell yours I'm scarier than you are. So they'll leave us both alone so the other one doesn't get angry or whatever. Think that would work? Maybe not on Kachin, but it's still worth it to get rid of everyone else. Izuku muttered thoughtfully. If we can just start the right rumors. Hitoshi smiled. Then maybe we can finally get some peace. Toshinori had nightmares like this. Him, sitting in the principal's office, getting scolded like a child while Gran Torino had tea with Nezu. He shivered. At least they weren't training. I agree with you that waiting until the entrance exam is risky, Nezu said, but receiving once for all too early also has its own risks. Well, yeah, Gran Torino shrugged. It's a centuries-old quirk with way too much power for a single person. That's a no-brainer. Toshinori cleared his throat. I was having her wait until she was going to enter UA, but not only to give her time to gain muscle, but because she'd also be able to freely access UA's resources. For example, recovery girl if she did get injured. Gran Torino just gave him a withering look. You can just call her, you know. Well, yes, but it'll take time for her, and in case of a critical injury, it would be safer for a majority of the quirk training to happen in UA ground, where recovery girl services would be immediately available. Netsu nodded. If that's a major concern, then I believe I might have a solution. We have training exercises coming up where we will be putting our students against civilians acting as villains. This gives them an opportunity to test their abilities against a wide variety of skill sets, and allows them to see what fighting villains will actually be like on a daily basis. Since most of the individuals they will fight will not be S-class threats, we have a third party coming in as civilians. However, if your successor were to participate as a villain, it would give her the chance to get to know One for All in an environment where medical services are readily available, as well as a razorhead, just in case we need to cancel the quirk in case of an emergency. How does that sound? It sounds perfect, Gran Torino exclaimed. Why didn't you lead with that? Toshinori sighed. I still think it would be better to wait, but if you both think it would be a good idea, then I suppose it's best course of action. I just want her to have the best chance of success as we can give her. Perfect, Netsu says. Then I'll draft the necessary paperwork for you to give to her. This is going to be so exciting. Izuku glanced over to make sure Katsuki was watching as he waved goodbye to Shinzo. See you later. Yeah, sure. Hitoshi watched lower his voice. You sure you want to do this? Yes, Izuku said firmly. He needs to know that you're dangerous. Hitoshi nodded and took control as he walked away. Izuku's brain fogged over as he lost control of his body, but but he could still remember the plan. Seeing him like this would make Katsuki angry because he'd automatically assumed that Izuku was ignoring him, not because he was brainwashed. He'd hit Izuku, like he always did, which would break the brainwashing, and from there it was just making sure he came to the right conclusions. Simple. Oi, Deku! Who the hell was that? Katsuki came storming up to him, just like Izuku knew he would, Hisaki's trailing a few feet behind. Well, who the hell was that purple-eyed bag idiot? Huh? Izuku didn't respond. Are you ignoring me? Katsuki looked like he was about to burst a blood vessel. I'm right here, you damn nerd! Answer me! Who was that? Again, Izuku said nothing, obviously because he couldn't, and Katsuki did exactly what he wanted. He punched him right in the face. Stop ignoring me, Katsuki said. You idiot, when I ask you a question, you answer, got it? Izuku sniffled. Thank you, Kachan. What? Sensei forgot to deactivate his quirk when he left, so I couldn't really respond to anything, Izuku rambled. He's got this super awesome brainwashing quirk, and it's really cool. Katsuki's lackeys looked absolutely horrified, and Izuku fought to keep the smile off his face. It wouldn't be long before the entire school knew about the quirkless kid's villain friend, who would brainwash them into submission if they made one wrong move. Now, it's just making sure Katsuki believed that Izuku wasn't ignoring him intentionally. But, Izuku continued. It's just that sometimes we experiment with his quirk, and he forgets to deactivate it, so if it looks like I'm ignoring you, I'm really not. I might not be able to respond. I'm sorry, Kachan, I really am. There was a long moment before Katsuki scoffed. Of course you'd be too weak to save yourself from some extra's quirk, Deku. Of course only a true brainwasher would hang out with a useless Deku like you. He stalked away, his lackeys following with one last glance over their shoulders. Izuku melted with relief. You can come out now, they're gone. Hitoshi rounded the corner, glaring at the direction Katsuki had walked in. Are you sure you don't want me to brainwash him into doing something embarrassing? Izuku shook his head. The important thing is that he leaves me alone, and now that we've thrown some doubt onto his theory that I'm intentionally ignoring him, it'll be a while before he finds something else to be mad at. Thank you so much, Hitoshi. It's whatever. Do you have that notebook I asked for? Izuku nodded and dug around his back before handing it to him. This'll be enough, right? Hitoshi smirked as he flipped through the pages. Oh, this will be more than enough. This is gonna be great. Hitoshi didn't intentionally go where his bullies hung out, but today was an exception. He had a notebook bent and stuffed into his pocket, ready to fall out the minute things got difficult. Now to get his bullies to take the bait. Hey, villain, get back here! Hitoshi bit back a smile as his villain bully saw him. He continued just like he didn't hear him. He was walking slowly enough. It didn't take much time for them to catch up. What are you doing here, brainwasher? The ringleader spat. Are you looking for a fucking beating? Hitoshi just looked at the floor and kept walking until the ringleader shoved him, making him stumble just hard enough to knock Izuku's notebook onto the floor. Bingo. He was shoved up against the wall as the ringleader kept shouting some nonsense or other at him, but that wasn't the guy he was most interested in. That was the one who just had picked up the notebook and was flipping through it. Mild terror growing through more intense with every page. Guys, I think you need to see this. The ringleader let go of Hitoshi as the whole group huddled around the notebook. What the fuck? Is this about us? Did you make this, you damn villain? No, Hitoshi answered honestly. My friend Midoriya did. I didn't tell him that much about you, but he managed to find out where I lived after only meeting me once, so I'm sure there's more in there. I haven't read it yet, sorry. The ringleader's eyes widened and he shoved the notebook at one of the others. You've got a firecracker, burn it! He turned towards Hitoshi. You keep that freak away from us, you hear? I'm sorry, but Hitoshi said with full sincerity. But I can't control him. The ringleader went pale. But you're a brainwasher, you can't... Hitoshi said, I don't want to go on his bad side. I'm sure you don't either. Well, see you at school. He walked away as the bullies trembled behind him. Couldn't hold back a small smile. School's gonna be a lot more enjoyable after this.